Welcome inside another edition of Celtics Roundtable on CLNS Media. CLNS Media, the leading online provider of audio, video coverage of your Boston Celtics. Evan Valenti, another podcast for you here on a Thursday morning. Myself alongside Matt Ignal and Cole Zwicker, a man that wears many hats, does a lot of stuff throughout the world of NBA circles and college basketball circles, is joining us here today to help break some stuff down. Today's show brought to you in part by Greats. Go to greats.com. That's GREATS.com. Enter the promo code Celtics Roundtable for 15% off your next purchase. Get a pair of these kicks that I'm showing you right now. These are unbelievable. Get a pair of yours today or more than one. Go to greats.com. Get 15% off your next purchase. Promo code Celtics Roundtable. Now, big in terms of topics for today, the two young guys, obviously that's why I bring Cole on here. We're going to talk with Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown in a minute. But Cole, you've somehow, some way, put more job titles in your description. I don't know how you do it with all the other stuff that you have to get done, but run us through the newest venture in Cole Zwicker here.
Sure. So right now we are setting up the Stepien.com. It is an all-encompassing draft site. We're going to fixate on mostly college basketball, but also young prospects in the NBA and build on some AAU talk as well. It's going to be kind of similar to Draft Express, not so intel focused, but more so content based. We're going to really, we have a bunch of great writers, Ben Rubin, Mark Whittington, Jay-Z Maslish, Mike Gribanoff, as well as Sean Darenthal, who's the co-founder of the site. So we are about 2.5 weeks or so away from launching that. If you want to sign up for the newsletter, you can visit thestepien.com and just enter your email address, and we shoot one of those out every week now. So check that out.
Yeah,
hashtag Lakers pick.
Yeah, hashtag, there you go. In addition to all that stuff, just to give you guys a heads up, he's a scout for Net Scouts. He's a contributor for the Step Back and for What's on Draft Pod. He's all over the place. Again, if you don't follow him already, you're a moron. But we do want to get into some of the young guys because that's what your main focus is going to be with your new venture. And the Celtics have had two really good ones. Jayson Tatum has been a nice surprise, and we'll save that for later. Because Jaylen Brown is somebody that I think has shocked a lot of people with the amount of workload he's taken on since the Hayward injury and how effective he's been. He had his 21st birthday the other night, 23 points in that one. He was all over the place, both on offensive side and defensive side of the floor. We've had you on to talk about Jaylen Brown before, and we all, I would just lump everybody almost in this discussion. We're all massive Jaylen Brown fans, and sometimes have to be talked off the ledge. You're one of the guys that kind of reels us in all the time. Has your projection of Jaylen Brown changed at all, or your perception maybe of Jaylen changed at all the first couple of games?
Not really. I do realize improvements in his game. I really like the off-ball cutting. I'm not sure if you guys have fixated on that, but he's really developing a good feel for baseline cuts, and that just shows a lot of intelligence there, especially when guys like LeBron sag off and you can cut backdoor. That's really promising stuff. But for the most part, I think he's kind of what we expected. I just really like the way that Stevens is using him. Corner three-point shooter, a lot of transition advantage attacks with his athleticism, selectively in the post. I mean, they're running some flex cuts for him when he has a mismatch playing the two. He's getting like Ramon Sessions on an isolation where he can just run through those guys. We saw him against McDermott in the post last night, just a quick spin baseline finish. So I really like the fact that they're minimizing kind of the isolation possessions with him and situations where he has to make complex decisions. And you can see that by his stat line even, like 3 turnovers in 137 minutes this year. I think that speaks to both his role and his willingness to accept that role.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on that, right? Like his issue is like dribbling through traffic, and he just hasn't had to really do that too much in the half court. Like I thought that might be an area of concern after Hayward went down. But he stepped up to the plate, I think, to accept this bigger role, and he's exceeded my expectations, at least there. He's had 18.8 points, 5.8 rebounds, 0.8 assists, shooting 48% from the field, 36% from three. Those are good numbers for Jaylen Brown. I just kind of thought that it would be like another year before he started to take really that next step, and I thought it would be, I guess, in a little bit more fits and starts. So I don't. He's impressed me, I guess, with his ability to fill, I guess, or to take on a larger role, because we saw in Summer League that he might not be totally ready for that. So I guess I am a little bit surprised here in that he may be exceeding like his expected development curve.
I mean, you look at what Jaylen does well in terms of the offensive end. The athleticism stands out, but like one of the things that I think still is a valid point, but I don't even think they're asking him to do a lot of this yet. Because I remember, I think you were explaining to us about his like lack of feel on an NBA floor, like maybe how it works. Like as you said, you alluded to, the backdoor cutting is a nice little feature, and the way Stevens has figured out how to use him is nice. But like, yeah, does the one thing I think that sticks in my head that you said to us in the summer about Jaylen is like when the ball finds Jaylen, the ball tends to stick there a little bit, and now that it sticks there a little bit more, he's starting to just attack the basket at will. So I guess, does it really matter if the ball sticks a little bit? I mean, I know his IQ would be better. He doesn't average a lot of assists per game. He doesn't move the ball like Tatum does, who we'll get to in a minute. But like I'm starting to think like that doesn't really matter right now because Boston needs a guy that can score, and Jaylen is clearly like, no, I'll do that, and I'm okay with that. I guess I've talked myself into that.
Yeah, he's definitely finding himself in good situations. Again, I think this is partly him, partly coaching. If you look at other rookies in the league, there are not a lot of systems like Stevens' system where they're targeting mismatches. You guys talked about Jaylen playing shooting guard and really gaining some physical advantages in those settings. He's going to be a bear in the post. When he has like those flex cut reads, when he comes out against like the short block, he's doing a good job in those situations. He is looking to attack more. I still have questions about his finishing at the rim. He's 7 of 19 at the rim in the half court and non-post ups, which is not great. I don't think his touch is phenomenal. If you actually break down like his creation settings, there's not a lot of pick and roll. There's not a ton of ISOs. It's mostly he's attacking closeouts, which he's phenomenal at, can get to the basket in 1 or 2 dribbles, has that explosiveness to finish. He's been really good in those situations, had a couple of nice relocation plays to the corner, kind of playing off his teammates. So that's the most surprising thing to me, is that he looks like he's playing more within the team construct. And Tatum's done that as well. I think that's what really sticks out about both of these guys, is they're finding ways to contribute to winning basketball within the team construct.
I guess, when it comes to finishing, do you put more of like, I mean, I know touch is involved, but I think strength's involved too. And you got to remember, like, Jaylen's only a 20-year-old kid. He's not fully, strong yet. The best example of that is watching him trying to cover LeBron, where you look at Jaylen, he's like, wow, he's pretty built, put together for a kid that's only 20 years old, and you put him next to LeBron, and LeBron's just a superhuman being, and you're like, no, there's no way that Jaylen can actually stop LeBron James. There's no way. He's just too big, too strong. I think finishing is part touch, but I think he can improve on that just by hitting the gym. Am I nuts on that?
I don't think it's nuts at all, but I do think it's more touch than strength. Jaylen is so developed for his age already. He's not like it's getting knocked off his spots that much. It's just most of his shots are, I just attribute to a lack of touch around the rim. I mean, Tatum, you can tell with his issues finishing, their explosiveness. He doesn't have Jaylen's run and jump athleticism or quite that level of body control. Maybe a little bit of it is strength with Jaylen, and that'll improve over time. I don't really see him adding like difference-making strength. He's already so developed physically for his frame. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. That's just something to monitor.
What do you make of his confidence right now? Because it seems to me that like mentally, I guess that's where he's made the biggest leap. Like he's just going to the rim basically every time. And I don't know. I guess it just bodes well. I just really like his mentality. I guess, and Brad Stevens said as much, that it didn't matter if he had a good day or bad day. Anytime last year he'd work the same, and I don't know. I just feel like he has made a little bit of a mini leap here, and he just looks so much more comfortable out there on the floor. I just think it bodes well for him in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's a great takeaway. He does look confident and comfortable on the floor. He kind of knows his role, and that's right now as a selective offensive scorer in certain positions, and he's accepted that, and he's thrived in it.
You think shooting guard's his most natural position? I mean, he's clearly got a lot of advantages there. Is it where he's going to end up?
That's tough. I mean, is he skilled? It depends on what you define as a shooting guard. A lot of people want somebody who is more skilled that position, can come off a pin down screen, shoot, like a Bradley Beal type, who has more secondary creation, more of an on-ball role, CJ McCollum, if that's how you view a secondary handler. I don't think that's his ideal role, but I do agree that he at least has the versatility to, when Stevens wants to go big and play Tatum and Brown on the wings, they can both take advantages of those matchups, and that's really promising for their development. They have physical advantages, size advantages there. I'm not sure about ideal role. Can he shoot well enough? If you're getting plus shooting from Tatum at the 3, if he's playing there, then you can probably offset that. It just depends on the surrounding circumstance.
I agree with that. I think he's like the perfect guy to go big against a team like Portland, who has C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard. And you go up against a team like that, and you're like, wow, there's no way that McCollum or Dame's gonna hang with Jaylen Brown. There's just no way. He's too big, too fast, too strong for those guys. And like, not to take away from their defense, but it's just too much at that point.
Hey,
go ahead.
I got one more question for him because I know you want to go to that ad read.
Yeah.
Cole, what do you think is like the next step for Jaylen Brown?
I think it has to come on the defensive end, especially off ball. That's still where I have the biggest amount of concerns with them. Just a lot of young guy mistakes. It's not just select for Jaylen. Everybody experiences this for the most part, but his off ball awareness just isn't there yet. Helping one pass away. The play that I think best encapsulates him defensively was last night when he tagged the roll man, recovered to Courtney Lee, and he just leapt in the air for no reason at all. It was completely uncontrolled, but he was so athletic that he was able to come down from that jump a second time, and almost block Courtney Lee's one dribble to the right jumper. So there are things that he has to work out mentally. He obviously has his best attribute right now is defensively switching. He has the frame and the physicality to do that against most guys. We saw that against Porzingis last night. He even held position in the post against him. But really, he has to develop his defense. I think that is the next step for him, along with passing. I don't think he has to pass to be an effective NBA player, at least at a really high level. If he shows a little bit more in that regard, he can be fine. I think most of the improvement has to come on the defensive side of the ball.
He's a pretty good defender, I think, right now for a guy his age. I think just because you can see him and look at him and be like, wow, that guy's going to be an elite defensive player if he puts it all together. I think we're all guilty of maybe holding him to a higher account. But in terms of elite, you want to know who's elite? Greats.com. I knew you guys knew that was coming. I was going to throw that in there, obviously, with a nice little transition. Greats.com, the makers of these fantastic shoes I'm showing you guys right now. This episode is sponsored by Greats, makers of the all-time great stylish and comfortable sneakers sold at a great price. Greats is Brooklyn's first sneaker company. They just opened their own store, too. So if you live in Brooklyn, go check out their store. You won't be able to walk out of there without buying a pair of these. I wouldn't be able to. I'm not that strong. Not even nearly that close enough to be that strong to walk out of there with no shoes. They sell all the greats, classic styles, made the best for less. A wide selection of men and women's shoes that you can pick from in terms of styles, in terms of colors, whatever you want to suit your occasion. There is a pair of greats out there for you. Tons of different colors and, again, materials to choose from. And their best sellers include this all-leather Royale lace-up and the Wooster slip-on as well. Again, get a pair of these. These are my favorite shoes that I own right now. I just cleaned them the other day. Look pretty good. The white bottoms, crispy white. You got to keep them this way. And you can get your own pair of these or multiple by going to Greats.com. That's Greats.com. And by checking out with the promo code Celtics Roundtable, gets you 15% off these bad boys or more if you want to. Trust me, you're going to want more. Again, that's Greats.com, Greats.com. Again, use the promo code Celtics Roundtable. Myself, Evan Valenti, alongside Matt Ignal, Cole Zwicker, talking Jayson Tatum now. And look, there was so much talk about the trade when it happened. Danny's crazy. He's trying to number one spot. And I feel for Markelle Fultz. Don't get me wrong. That's just a really bad situation. But trading down to 3, they take Jayson Tatum. I was a little worried about that. I didn't know how to feel about that at first. But I'm not going to lie, Cole. I'm feeling great about it now. And to be frankly honest with you, the defensive side of the ball for Tatum, and we'll get to the offensive side in a second. But the fact that this guy is on the floor and in certain situations, he's not a complete disaster out there in starters minutes is, for me, a nice surprise for the 19-year-old.
Well, he's showing great defensive effort and a motor that I don't know if he showed at Duke to that fullest extent. I mean, he's really playing hard, rebounding, competing on the glass. Even when he gives up a half step, this has happened to him a couple times. He doesn't have the best foot speed. He has a little bit of stiffness, but he's recovered to block the shot. We saw that against Covington on a closeout and then Fultz on a back cut. He's also instinctively doing things like crashing down and blocking Cantor shot last night. I just think he's been playing really active, good hands, swiping at balls. The versatility in that Milwaukee game, we saw him guard Brogdon, Giannis, Middleton, and Thon. He's playing smart and physical. Well, I mean, he's not going to guard Giannis full game stat. Nobody can really do that, but he walled him off once, shows good instincts, rotating. I completely agree. I think he's really been active and intelligent on that end. That's something that's really good to see.
Yeah, I thought coming into this year and really around draft time, like this was a guy who's probably going to be good on offense. He had all those skills, but he had like kind of the profile, I guess, of an average defender. Yeah, Cole, you mentioned he's like a little bit stiff. I'm for the record, I don't believe that 6'11" wingspan. I think he's a legit 7 foot wingspan.
I don't either,
because he got beat by Courtney Lee and then recovered to block the ball again last night. It seems like it's been a nightly occurrence. Yeah, he's averaging 1.3 blocks on the year. So yeah, I mean defensively, I think he's been one of the Celtics, actually one of the best defenders. I think the numbers bear that out. Like in terms of the floor stats, it's been like him and Horford as the Celtics' 2 best defenders. So I don't, I think he has a chance to be like a real two-way player in this league, and that might be like a floor for him. So I'm really excited. He's just showing more defensively than I really expected, even next year or something like that.
Yeah, remember we talked about in Summer League when the whole conception of him was this isolation in the post kind of guy that didn't defend at a high level, and that was his rep coming out of Duke, was this is probably not going to be an impact defender. I never thought he was going to be bad. I was a bigger believer in his ancillary skills, his passing, his ability to move the ball. Mm-hmm. It was just a very specific setting in Summer League that people saw that version of him, as well as Duke's offense. So he's been kind of the same player that I expected, except for we see a better motor defensively. And yeah, the length has been great. He can test a ton of shots, so that's really promising. Some
people throw the Paul George comp out there, and like I think that's nuts. Just because I don't know about you, Cole, but I don't see him getting that good on the defensive side of the ball. You gotta remember, like Paul George, pre-injury was like one of 4 or 5 top 5 defenders in the league, regardless of position. I mean, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, I think Paul George is a better athlete. He's a little bit quicker, and his instincts defensively are just really good. I mean, he stands out on the Thunder, which is going to be a good defensive team, as pretty clearly the best wing. I shouldn't say that. Andre Roberson's probably the best wing defender, but he's a lot better than Melo and Westbrook if you're comparing stars. So I agree with that. It's going to come down to me, again, the Tatum shot making off the dribble. He just hasn't shown a lot of that yet because they're not playing that kind of style. He's more running in transition, running to the 3-point line, being really aggressive in transition has been awesome there. And then spotting up in the half court, some selective post-ups. His skill level is pretty obvious. It's about degree of efficiency with him. Later in his career, he's going to be defended by primary defenders in the league. He's going to have to get his own offense at times in the fourth quarter. Can he do that? I mean, at this point, there's no reason to expect he can't, but that's definitely something that Paul George can do. We'll see if Tatum can get that level of efficiency.
So one thing you brought up when we talked about Tatum before was his, like, I guess, 2-motion release, and that's, it's inhibited him from shooting, long threes off the dribble. By the way, he's averaging 45.5 as his 3-point percentage for this season. Yeah, I don't think that's going to last. Wouldn't it be nice, though? But I saw, like, during the Knicks game, I think it was his, like, first 3-pointer. It was wide open. It was off the catch. But it just looked like he's made some strides in his fluidity on, like, the deep threes from the top. And I just wonder if that's something that you picked up on, Cole.
Yeah, he looks comfortable shooting. I think that's my takeaway. I still see a little bit of stiffness in his release and kind of how rigid it is. I don't see, like, necessarily the fluidity, but he looks comfortable shooting it. He looks confident from the corners, even, like, looks in transition from the wings. When he has open shots, it's been fine. I don't know how he's shooting off the dribble. I think the last time I checked, it was like 2 of 7. It's a really, really small sample. He's definitely creating space for himself. You saw that left to right crossover. I think last night I was on top of the key, got the space, just missed the pull-up jumper. That's going to come in time. I'm still a little bearish on his shot overall. I know he got hot from 3 last night, but before that, I don't think he was shooting particularly well from 3. So it's always dangerous with small samples. He looks fine. I don't think he looks bad. I thought he was a good bet to shoot at a reasonable fashion. I'm not sure if he's going to be like a 40% 3-point shooter, but his profile and his technique don't give you pause to say he's going to shoot, league average or better than that for sure. I never saw him as like a low upside shooter, just not like the efficient enough level of shooter he need to be kind of conceptually for who he is as a player, unless the defense comes, and it looks like the defense is coming. So it looks like he's going to be a valuable player.
The one thing I think is interesting about this whole discussion, and I'm curious now, maybe it hasn't changed. I don't know. But like these two guys have been unbelievable for the Celtics this year. They've been the best storyline that anybody can find about the Boston Celtics in 2017. And I'm curious to find out, like, after a player is drafted, because again, both these guys are a little further along than we thought, and we've mentioned tonight, that Brad Stevens is the guy that gets these guys in places to succeed. We like to joke about it just because we've seen so many guys walk through the Boston doors and get better. Like Jordan Crawford is everybody's favorite example. One of mine is Evan Turner, right?
We're going to be bringing up Jordan Crawford.
Jordan
like
Crawford
10 years from now.
is a legend in Boston. Don't get that twisted at all. But like, do you account for Stevens' bump at all? Because like I think it comes out more with Jaylen than with Jayson. But like the way they use Jaylen Brown is absolutely brilliant. Like, okay, backdoor cuts. Again, we're gonna have favorable situations in terms of matchups for him. In transition, just run to the corner where he's a very good 3-point shooter. Like they just know how to use these guys to get them to produce at an NBA level right off the jump. There has to be maybe a little bit of adjustment for how Brad Stevens. Like it's the same thing with like DeJounte Murray right now in San Antonio. When they drafted DeJounte Murray out of Washington, I was floored. I was like, this is gonna work. DeJounte Murray's a super raw prospect, but he's got a ton of talent, and I guarantee you when he figures it all out, it'll be in San Antonio. He'll be a decent player. Do you give a bump to any coach, any development program at all when you're evaluating prospects?
The most understated part of the entire evaluation process is player development in organizations. I absolutely give it a jump. I think Boston and Brad Stevens have established themselves as a top 3 organization in the league. You have to give them a bump because they know what they're doing. They know how to maximize roles. Golden State is brilliant at this as well. Look at Jordan Bell. I mean, they drafted somebody who's perfect for their game. He does exactly what they need him to do. They know how to find skill sets and optimize them. And absolutely, that Stevens deserves a ton of credit for that. And I mean, he has the ability to say, you guys have to defend on the floor. You have to exert maximum energy because we run like 10 deep. I mean, maybe not so much anymore with Hayward out, but still, there's still plenty of depth on Boston, more than most other teams. So it's that climate, that defensive first mentality, that maximum effort, combined with people that know how to optimize certain skills, which is really what the entire draft is about. There's a lot of talented players that flame out in the league because they're not optimized. They're put in situations. If you guys watched that Suns-Lakers game and the Phoenix prospects on that, it was just a disaster. And I don't know if that was them not rotating or if that was Earl Watson's system. Clearly, we think it's Earl Watson's system because he's not there anymore. But it absolutely depends on destination. That's a huge part of this.
And I think it also, like, it underscores how important fit is, and I feel like that's something that near the top of the draft, you say draft the best player available, and maybe that is the correct way to go. But if we're talking like guys in a tier, and it may be looking like Tatum was in the same tier as Markelle Fultz. I don't know about that, but it's looking at least more plausible right now. That Brad Stevens has, like, I guess, found a way to sort of maximize what they're doing. And we had Sam Vecini on this program, and he was talking about how just Tatum was just like kind of a nice fit for what Boston was trying to do. And, he's become like an excellent fit, particularly as Hayward has gone down. I just wonder, like, if, I don't know, I wonder if like we discount like fit a little bit too much, because when you put guys in the right environment with the right role, maybe that's really their avenue to working hard and buying in and just maximizing their potential. So anyway, I'm just rambling here, but certainly I think that the Celtics have found that, at least with Tatum and Brown.
100% agree. I think when guys are in similar tiers, you definitely have to look at fit because you want to be in the best position to maximize and optimize these guys' talents. I mean, there are stars that come around like an Anthony Davis, an Embiid, a Simmons even, that you just take because they're that talented. But some guys, if they're in the same general proximity, are going to be better in some systems than others. And you have to be able to identify those players and identify the strengths that they're going to add to your team.
We're flat out just like running out of time at this point. But before we go, Cole, do you want to take a victory lap on Dennis Smith Jr. yet, or you want to save that for like next week?
I mean, he got undressed pretty badly against the Warriors, man, but he was on a roll before that. So
I love him to death. I think he's awesome. I love the fact that he tried to dunk on Draymond, and Draymond's like, "What are you doing, man?" I'm like, "I want that guy. I want that fearless guy in my lineup." He had an awesome summer league. Obviously, in the preseason, he's been fantastic. He's been fun to watch. He's been fun to watch so far. And like, there are so many teams that you look at and you're like, to just draft Dennis Smith. Like, that would have been great. And look at the Knicks, maybe. Malik Monk's another guy who I'm like, man, how did he fall down to 12? Like, I just feel like this draft has been really, really fun to watch so far. And, like, you know, I'll even throw Ben Simmons in there because it's his first year. But, like, you look at some of the guys. De'Aaron Fox has been a ton of fun. Lonzo had a ridiculous 29-point game the other night. Even a guy like, and I know we followed out the other night, but Josh Jackson's had some highlight stuff. And I look at this draft class, and it's just like there's just storylines are everywhere, and it's awesome.
It was a great class. I mean, they continue to produce at every level. They've been a ton of fun. I think Smith is another example of a guy who went to an optimal system and that spread pick and roll at Dallas. If he went to the Knicks, I'm not sure if he's the same player. So that just goes back to what you guys were saying.
Yeah. Cole, plug all your stuff. There's so much to plug. Go ahead.
Again, thestepien.com. Please sign up for the newsletter and stick around for that content in about 2.5 weeks or so. Also, check out the Game Theory podcast. I do a once a week hit with Sam Vecini over there. We just got done talking about combo guards for about 50 minutes, as well as young prospects in the league. So that's basically the podcast medium I'm going to be on for the foreseeable future, pending a couple changes. So right now, if you want to check out any draft content, Game Theory podcast, and sign up for the Stepien newsletter.
Awesome. We'll make sure to do that. That's going to do it for this show of Celtics Roundtable on CLNS Media. Again, powered by the all-time greats. These shoes you can find at greats.com, GREATS.com, or by visiting their store in Brooklyn. Use the promo code if you're online, Celtics Roundtable, for 15% off your entire purchase. For Matt Ignal, I'm Evan Valenti. We'll see you next time. If you're watching us on YouTube, hey, what's up? First and foremost, hit that like button below and subscribe to CLNS Media, the 10,000 plus of you that are subscribers. I love you so much. You guys are the best. I can't believe there are so many of you. Also, if you want to listen to us on the go, download the CLNS Radio mobile app or subscribe to the Boston Celtics newsfeed on iTunes, on Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be there. We'll also be back tomorrow. I may or may not be eating a Terry Rozier sandwich on the show. That's all I need to say about tomorrow's show. We'll see you next time on Celtics Roundtable on